Did you get the thread in yet?
No, not yet. And there's a hack that George had sent me how to do it to make it easier, because it takes as opposed to taking like a couple minutes, it would take like a second.
Did you get it?
Yeah. And it's just small. So
you just dropped it.
yeah,
Oh.
no.
So you're gonna thread the shirt while.
I'm not gonna thread the shirt.
You're gonna sew the hole while doing this.
Oh, I should mute my phone, eh?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Okay, hold on.
Come on, Mom.
All right. Okay. Hold on, I'm not ready yet because not the.
Oh goodness. So many things. What is that? Three things at once? Two things? So it's two things max.
Well, not really.
It's like
for my undivided attention, it can't be anything.
it can't be anything.
No.
So I'm not getting your undivided attention is what I'm hearing.
Not at the second. No, you're not, son.
What?
Once I get it knotted, then I can.
Then we're ready to go. Hurry up and make this knot.
Sure you can't hear that in the back?
It's pretty low, so I think it might be able to.
You should have it so that the microphone just kind of picks up audio,
like a push to talk kind of thing. Or sorry, that's like a gaming term.
Yeah.
Or like the mic is only on when you're talking, and
yes.
It kind of just cuts out everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know there's this mixing thing through like the way that I publish these, where it kind of edits out, or not edit, but it lowers like tones that it picks up that aren't when people are talking. But I haven't had any episodes where there's like a lot of sound in the background to really kind of edit out.
Okay. All right. It's going to take me 2 seconds to do this, so we can either start or you can wait till I finish.
Okay. I'll wait. I'll wait till 2 minutes.
Okay.
Is it going to be 2 minutes, or is it more like your version of 2 minutes?
Well, when I say 2 minutes, I mean 2 minutes. Whether that version's different from yours, I don't know. But it's
you're when you say 2 minutes, it's like double or triple that. It's never accurate.
It's a Caribbean 2 minutes. That's what it is. You need to understand that.
What do you? I understand that. It's like when we go to Nana's house for 2:00. That means everybody show up at 4. I know the timing.
Well, everything is 2 minutes, so whether
So,
it's an hour or whether it's actually 2 minutes, it's all 2 minutes. Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, so it might be on time.
Yeah, no, this was just, it's just a simple stitch, so nothing.
There's a weird spot. It's like right on your shoulder.
Yeah, probably like when I was pulling it like that.
You had to put on your glasses?
Just to thread it, not to sew. I just kept it on.
Those new glasses?
No, these are reading glasses.
No, I was going to say, I haven't seen those ones before.
No, these are just reading glasses, so it magnifies, which made it easier to thread the...
Thread the needle?
Yeah. Okay.
ID.
Okay, baby. All done.
All done? Perfect. Aha. Remember to can't just drop things on the table. The mic's gonna pick it up.
Oh.
Come on. No feel. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of the On Deck podcast. I'm your host, Roberto, and today I have a very special guest with me here today. This is someone very near and dear to my heart, the woman that brought me into this world, my mom. Welcome to the podcast, Madre.
Thank you, son. It's great to be here.
Yes, this is a kind of an idea that was you brought up initially, but I was like, do I want my mom on the podcast?
Well, you know your mom always has something to say, so
Yeah, that's exactly why I think it'd be a good idea to finally put this together.
sounds good, babe.
So, as you know, growing up, there was a lot of sports that I had played before, transitioning to baseball full time.
Mm-hmm.
Was baseball a sport that you'd ever see me playing?
Yes, growing up, I think baseball was the first sport you may have been introduced to. At least the first sport I remember because, we used to go to the park for the family picnics, and I think you were a year and a half, and you had the little bat and ball, and we were playing at the park, and you threw the baseball, and from that moment, I knew that there was a gift or a talent because unlike, babies that throw the ball on the ground or roll it or something, your throw is really accurate. So that's what I knew. Baseball was for you.
Interesting. I didn't know it. I didn't know it started that young.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were a year and a half, maybe two, but definitely you were under 2 years old when you started throwing the baseball. And that's when I knew that. I remember telling your dad that, your aim was far too accurate for a baby. So
Well, that's good. I didn't know that. So
yeah, I told you that story.
no, I don't remember that. I remember maybe like older, but I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know it was that young.
No, yeah, ask Daddy, ask Tio, Abuelo. Yeah, we used to be at the park for the asados, and you'd throw the ball, and it was, for a 2-year-old or a year and a half, it was pretty impressive.
So I was always meant to be a pitcher, is what
Well,
I'm
I
hearing.
didn't know you were throwing the ball.
All right.
You were throwing the ball. That's what I know.
Not hitting it, of course. Just...
No.
All
No,
right.
but you were throwing it nicely, though.
Okay. Well, I know. I forget what age it was, but you were technically my first baseball coach as well.
Not technically.
Well, okay, you were my first baseball coach.
Yes. You were 8.
Okay, so it was 8. Mm-hmm. How was that as an experience with me being on your team and then just being around? Is it not slope? It's with the machine. I remember we were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember what that like age group was called, but how was that as an experience?
Well, again, because we grew up with sports, your mother's a huge sports fan, and because you were wanting to play baseball, you wanted to try it out, I thought, it's a great way to introduce you to something is by sharing it with you. And so that's how I became your coach. And that was a great experience. I not only for myself, being able to see you grow in baseball, but also to, as I said, just share something I love with my son. So
yeah, that's probably one of the I don't remember much, playing or like the what the results were, but I do remember you just being there as my coach and my mom. Do
Make
you?
me cry.
No, not already. Do you remember? If you remember, do you remember if there was a specific position that I liked to play, or?
At that age, you played. I think that's when you started catching. So you may have been the catcher as well as I think second base. But yeah, I'd have to check your journal to see if there was any specific positions that other than catcher or second that you actually liked. But those were the ones I remember you playing.
Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed second. I do like even now. I still like to get behind the plate and catch, whether that be like bullpens or just even being a dummy for like standing in. But no, interesting. I didn't know. I didn't know I was catching that young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving on to baseball now. What are some takeaways that you have with how the game is developed into how it is nowadays, or what are your thoughts on how baseball is in 2025?
Um, I must admit that I'm really disappointed with the direction that professional sports in general is trending, and with baseball it's no different. I think now there's not as much emphasis on player development. There's far too many injuries in the sport to actually see what a team could actually do or how a player is going to be, because every other month they're injured, and it really takes away from the sport. I'm not quite sure at this stage what could be done to better prepare athletes. I don't know if that's the right term or direction, but yeah, I just feel that sports now, and I always joke about I would never be a season ticket holder because the teams and players you want to see, they're never playing whenever you want to see them. So what's the point of being a season ticket holder? So by saying that, I mean that the excitement for me in the sport has lessened. Like, I love sports, but it's not necessarily following a team that I enjoy anymore because of injuries, because of the lack of discipline with these athletes as well too. I think they're paid far too much. And it's great for them because they can get it. But as a fan, what happens is you're paid all this money. You're expecting them to walk on water. And when they don't produce, you're disappointed. I think if they shorten contracts and focused more on performance, maybe the level of sport would improve.
So with that sports contract point, so would you say like a contract like Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto from this past offseason? What are your thoughts on those kind of 700 approaching $800 million contracts?
It's like ridiculous. Like I said, it's fantastic for them because they can get that. But I think what it does to the sport is really diminish it because now, in order for teams to be competitive, they have to be shelling out like next to close to $1 billion to get these top-rated athletes. And as opposed to trying to develop the talent that they have within their farm system, is that what they still call it? I'm not sure. But as opposed to trying to develop players to become superstars, they want to try to acquire them at their supposed peak. And it's only the high-end teams like in California and New York that can afford those types of players. So every other team then suffers trying to get a superstar. And like I said, I think that takes away from the sport because as opposed to trying to develop the superstars, teams and organizations now want them made. And that's why I said, like, that's why I think sports is trending to, I don't like the trend in which sports is developing because the trend is now not developing players, but wanting them to already come hit the ground running as a superstar. And I don't think that's realistic. So good for the players that can get all that money. Do it while you can. But as a fan, no, I'm not impressed by it at all.
So, as a fan, would you rather see, like, for instance, the Chicago White Sox, the Florida Marlins? Those are teams that have been in like rebuild stages for like the past 3 or 4 seasons, and they're just basically collecting prospects, and they haven't been competitive for a number of years. Would you rather see a team be non-competitive for a number of years, but kind of build a farm system of players that have potential to be really good, or would you rather a team try and spend a lot of money to try and basically buy a team and put that together?
No, I think what should really be done for sports team, whether it be baseball or any other sport for that matter, is like, yeah, I guess have your one quote unquote superstar, but then have a good supporting cast that you're willing to develop so that your team can elevate as one, as opposed to cherry picking all the superstars. And it's only the teams that can afford to have these high end players can acquire them, and everybody else suffers. I think the game would look a lot better if you had them spread out amongst the different teams as opposed to just being on 4 teams. I think the league could look different if they would just allow that. And like I said, then you'd have the team and coaching trying to then develop better players as opposed to just expecting everybody to come a superstar. Maybe that's should be written into every team, is like you can only have one superstar on your team, whether it's your one pitcher, one field player, I don't know. But something's got to change as opposed to stacking the teams. Like, I don't think that is fair. And to me, that's not sports to me. That's not sports.
So that's a perfect transition into my next question, which would be, if you were the commissioner, say for a year, what would be some rules that you would have changed, or even if you want new rules to be implemented?
Where to start? Well, like I said, with that would be definitely one of them, is that there's no stacking teams with 5 superstars on the team. That would definitely change. And also the lengths of contracts would change as well too. I would shorten the season. I think 162 games is too much. And I would probably reduce the season to maybe anywhere between 120 to 130, if so many, so that, there's time for athletes to properly prepare physically in the off season, like with weight training, diet, exercise, all of that, so that they can prepare their bodies for the rigors of 130 games. I think right now with the season finishing in November and then spring training is starting, I don't know, in January, February, like it's not enough time for athletes to properly rest and recover and then start that whole cycle again. Because in addition to the 162 games, they're then playing another 30 games potentially in postseason. Might be exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying? They're playing a lot of baseball. And so with the amount of injuries that are there, as I said, that's really taking away from the experience of fans looking to see their favorite player playing, because chances are, they're going to be injured when they're visiting your city or something like that. So I think reducing the number of regular season games would be a start. Starting maybe a little later as well, not having they're inching closer. It used to be the beginning of April. Now it's the end of March. They're starting. Bring it back to the first week in April. And by maybe the middle of October or something like that, the season finishing, and then starting the postseason or something like that. And also maybe more time in between for breaks between the games, because I think what happens is because they're paying these athletes so much money, these owners want to return, which is obviously what every sport is driven by, is by money. And so the more they play, the more, advertising dollars, all those other things that come along with having the athletes playing, why owners, of course, would want a longer season, would want more games, all of that, to try to recoup some of that money that they're paying these exorbitant salaries. So, until even if I was a commissioner, until you can get the buy-in from the owners, then, that's wishful thinking. But just to go back, shorter season, longer preseason, or if that's even preseason where you're, it's just strictly weight training, gym, diet. Also, too, I think each team should have a sports psychologist, is what I would have on each team as well, because I think with the younger players, Mom always tells you how everybody's soft, right?
Extremely.
So by having a sports psychologist that is on part of the staff, I think these players need to develop mentally better and maturity. And reason being, a lot of these athletes are young and your brain's still developing. And then there's this pressure of expectation. And once you're given all this money, again, there's the pressure of that you're supposed to be a superstar. So I don't think a lot of these athletes are equipped to deal with that. So making sure that they're being taken care of mentally as well, and maybe setting an age in which you could enter even into the major leagues of maybe 21 or something. I'm not sure, but I really think that there's a lot of areas that baseball and sports in general could look to overhaul to make sure that it's not only a good experience for the athlete, but for fans, for owners, for the whole system to really improve. Because I'm not sure what the stats and the numbers look like for baseball, but in other sports, viewership is down. So I think if they start to address some of the fundamentals of the game, that might help in improving it. Also, too, I would take away that the review or whatever.
Oh, you're not a fan of the challenge system?
No, I'm not a fan of the challenge system. I'm not a fan of reviewing, because it's you have your umpires there, and what's happening, I find, is because you could challenge, because you can review, they're not doing their jobs as well. So I think if you take away that and force them to pay better attention, that will move the game along. And you got to trust the process. They're not perfect. So they would miss some, but there shouldn't be any obvious discrepancies that are being missed.
We kind of had the same conversation yesterday, but in terms of basketball, how you said that they're just not watching the game as closely anymore.
No, it's really, technology is supposed to be a good thing, but it's really made us very complacent in what we're supposed to be doing. And that's part of it. You're supposed to be as attentive as you can to the calls, to the plays, and not have to rely on, oh, well, if I miss it, they can challenge. And no, pay attention and watch the game.
It's not like we said. You have one job.
that's your job,
So with that being said, are you? Well, I'm not sure if you watched any of the spring training games, but
No, I didn't.
are you aware of the automated balls and strike system?
No, but I had heard that that was something that they were looking to bring about. Did they do it in spring training?
Yeah, so it was all of spring training. You were given two challenges like per game, and if you win them, you obviously keep them. But it was only the catcher, the pitcher, or the manager that were able to make those challenges.
No, I didn't watch any spring training, and so no, I wasn't familiar with that. But that's something that I'd heard that they'd wanted to do for a while, so that they actually did it is interesting.
Yeah, they had it implemented in the minor leagues. I think just last year they implemented it, and from what I heard, it was a success in their eyes. But I don't know. I have kind of mixed reviews on it, and I was hoping that you would have like an opinion on it as well.
Yeah, well, I can't speak about that specifically because I'm not aware of it, but like as I was explaining for the experience of the game, I don't. I think we're trying to move too far to the left or right when it comes to sports. It's like, I think what makes sports enjoyable is by keeping it simple. Like you have your umpire that's calling balls and strikes. You have your umpires in the field to determine plays on base. Next thing, you're not going to have any umpires. You're not going to have any base because it's going to be all automated or something. And it's, I guess, the evolution of sports. That's not a direction that I would like to see, and I'm not sure. But then again, I'm old school, so maybe maybe that's just me, and maybe younger generations may want to see that. But what I love about sports is the fun, the simplicity of it. And by trying to make it too technical, I think it just takes away from it.
Yeah, that was kind of one thing that I was, on the fence about, because the way that it goes is that, you obviously have your two challenges, but I saw Max Scherzer made a comment when this whole ABS system came out, and it kind of made me think about, if there's umpires that are, obviously making consistently bad calls, like they should be demoted to AAA, and then, based on your called balls and strikes compared to the challenges, like you need to stay within a certain threshold to be, in the major leagues and making those calls. And with that idea, I think I can get behind that because, it holds umpires accountable for their one and only job on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't do that at whatever the threshold might be, then you should be penalized for it, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can agree with that, and I totally agree with that. And in terms of, if this is what your job is to call balls and strikes, and this is the zone in which they should be at, and you can't do that, well then, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that then.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem that difficult, but yeah, I don't know why we want to make things more difficult or take away from what baseball traditionally is, and maybe this is the evolution of the sport, but I don't think that it's necessarily necessary to do that.
Interesting. You're right, coming on some interesting takes for sure. But as an Atlanta resident now and watching the Braves for a few years, what are some of your opinions on the team?
Oh wow, where to start? Well, I'm a huge fan of sports, as you know, and I've gotten on board and watching the Braves because I can't watch the Jays as frequently. So one thing, the Braves have been entertaining for the past 4 seasons that I've been watching them. What I do see as areas for improvement for the team is definitely, and I spoke about this before, is like the number of injuries that are happening is like it really detracts and takes away from the sport. So, going back to ways in which players can stay healthy longer and take better care of their body so that they can actually play the game. I think that might help improve at least this season, which, truth be told, I haven't watched any games this season so far. But in previous seasons and leading up to this season, I think there needs to be a changing of the guard for the Braves. And by that, I mean, I think Snit had been a great coach, and he's been with the organization a long time. And I think that's probably why he's still head coach, is because he's been with them for so long. But when you have gone to, after winning the World Series, which was awesome, after then having seasons where you've had the top hitters, the top base stealers, the top pitchers, and not make it through to the World Series, it's like, okay. And then your season after that, you fell even further behind. I think you need to mix things up. And that's probably the one suggestion I might have for this season is that, and I know because, like I said, Snit had been with the organization in various capacities for, I think, over 45 years, I've heard. So they probably don't want to fire him. So maybe he might look to resign on his own so that they can get somebody else to...
It's an easy way of letting him go.
Yeah, of letting him go. And I think anytime you're not meeting with success, you have to try different things. And I think success comes not only from the players, but it starts at the top and with the coaching. So maybe they just need a different look, a different set of eyes, and maybe things might change for them with that.
So do you think with a change with coaching, do you think that would immediately, change the team morale and have them play in a different brand of baseball? Because they're supposed to be getting Acuna back from ACL surgery. Strider, I think he should be coming back. He went on the IL with a hamstring strain. I think those are obviously like the two best players on the team, like on the offensive side and the pitching staff. Would you think that when those guys come back, that should be like a morale boost and kind of bring the team, together to kind of say, this is because they have a really good team. Like every single position, they have one of the better position players even on both sides, pitching as well. But they're, like you said, they're severely underperforming right now. They were not hitting at all to begin the season. They've actually, picked it up a little bit. They're approaching 500 or, maybe 1 or 2 games off. But I think with those two guys coming back, it should be like a morale boost and kind of, rally the troops together to kind of lock it in and say, we're like, this shouldn't be happening. We're the Braves. Like they're not the Colorado Rockies where they just have no star power to be playing this poorly.
That I can agree with that, but like I said, I think for sports teams, the success starts with having the coach that can rally the troops, because Acuna and having Strider, they would be great for hopefully the offense and for the pitching. But those two players aren't going to have the team all of a sudden winning 30 games straight in a row. Like, it has to come, at least I believe, it has to first start with the coaching, setting up the team for excellence. Those two players have to just be an add-on, not the catalyst, is what I'm trying to say. It's like with, I'm trying to make the example because we've been watching so much basketball now, like watching, say, the Houston Rockets. You know, that was a team that had performed poorly for X amount of years. And with changing the coaching, his first year, he did great improvements. In the second year, even better by adding in key pieces. But it started with the coaching first. And that's what I believe all teams need to start. You need to have that coach that is the one to rally the troops. He can't motivate the players, but he's got to set up an environment in which the players want to be at their best and they're willing to work hard to get there. I think once you have that, then once you have everybody with that buy-in, then having those other key pieces of, you know, a star hitter, a star pitcher, whatever, just takes it to the next level. But it has to start, at least I believe it has to start like just fundamentally, just right at the bottom. Great coaching. Your coach is they're a coach. They're supposed to bring that talented player to the next level.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of wish that you're my coach maybe later in my age, like maybe like 17, 18. It would have been interesting to have you around as my coach then.
Yeah, it would have been no nonsense with you though. So.
What do you mean no? You act like I was doing nonsense all the time. No nonsense with me.
Yeah, it would have been no nonsense. But yeah, like that's what I think good coaching does. Good coaching takes the talent and brings it to another level because, you know, with all sports, if you're playing it professionally, that means that you are better than 99% of the other players that are trying to do whatever you're doing. So in order to then get you to that next level, that's where the coaching comes in. Because you can't coach talent.
That's a good one there.
Yeah, thank you.
Where'd you hear that?
I just made it up. But it's what I believe. You can't coach. Talent is your fundamental, but there's the coaching that needs to bring that talent to the next level. And that has a lot to do with the player as well, too. There's got to be a commitment. But if you have a coach that accepts and is encouraging you to be excellent, then if you're not rising to that, then you shouldn't be playing.
Is that why you coached me with some great talent?
Are we still running?
You can't. You're denying the talent now?
No, I knew the talent was always there.
What do you mean? It hasn't gone away. What?
Next question.
Wow. Thanks, Mom.
Next question, son.
All right, Mom. That's gonna close things out for. We're gonna cut it there, but I appreciate you coming on to the podcast.
It's been so much fun, baby. Thank you.
I'm glad you had fun. Shared some laughs and some good memories.
Yes.
And maybe we'll have you come on for some more hot takes in the future.
I'm always ready, willing, and available.
Oh. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hold you to that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome, son.
That's gonna close things out for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that one with my mom. We've always had numerous conversations, whether that be, in the car, driving places, or just on the phone together about sports. And I think this was a great, way for her to kind of get her opinions out and see if any of you guys out there kind of felt the same way about things. So let me know in the comment section below if any of you guys agree with what she said, or even if you disagree on some fronts. Let me know what your overall thoughts are. But if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to rate and review 5 stars. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Get the podcast out there to all those other people that are baseball lovers just like ourselves out here. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.